What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the warehouse series. So today I'm going to be going over a couple orders that I did last week in the warehouse. I started working overtime again, but as of right now, no video. The reason why no video is because it's a lot different going in at this time of the day than the time of the day that I went in before when I was videoing. As you guys know, I put the thumbs up logo over all the people in the warehouse because I don't want them to be seen. And it's just a lot more congestion in the warehouse at the time of the day I'm going in right now. I don't want my videos looking cheesy with a bunch of thumbprints, a bunch of thumbs ups all over the place. I want you to focus on me building the pallet and not focused on all the thumbs up. So when I get an opportunity to video, I will definitely try to do that. But for as of right now, we're going to go over some pictures. And before we get to the first picture, guys, if you could subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up if you guys like the content. Leave comments in the comment section below. I will answer all your comments, I promise. And Discord, that link is also in the description below. If you want to come join that warehouse community, you could do so. All right, guys, on this first order right here, take a look at it while I talk about the crossing the T's. I just put that video out about the crossing the T's. And what did I say? I said, when I have one case, I like to face them inwards. If I have multiple cases, I like to face them back. Now, when I say face them back, I mean either in the front of the pallet or the back of the pallet. You could tell from watching this channel, the middle of the pallet, I am not a fan of running cases the length of the pallet because it forces you to have small corners. And the strongest point of the pallet is right here where you see the center column. So I want as many cases pointing towards that middle pallet as possible. But if I get two waters, what do you see? Facing back. Two pastas facing back. Two waters facing back. Two broths facing back. Do you guys see a pattern here? One case facing in, one case facing in, facing in, facing in, facing in. I focus on facing cases towards the middle of the pallet with my center column up the middle. Got a problem case in the middle I talked about in that past video. Guys, Fiji water, not a big fan of having them on the corner, but if I have to put it on a corner, I want it on the front of my pallet so it's up against the mast of the jack. If it's my back pallet, I want it on the front of my pallet so it's up against my front pallet. I hope that makes sense. Same with the water. You notice I did not spread the water all over. I didn't put 4 across the front. They are problem cases to me. If I only have 4, I want to stick them up in a corner. I don't want them spread all over the place. So with that being said, this is the front of my pallet. Guys, if you watch my channel, you see very similar things going on with all my orders. Guys, how nice is it to have a system? While I'm looking at the case while I'm selecting it, I already know in my head where I want to put it because I build all my pallets the same. And that is what I'm trying to get through to you new selectors. When you start off in the warehouse, you need to learn your system. If you could build your pallet in your head before you even start, I mean, come on, you're going to crush your times. I move slow through the warehouse because I don't care about making incentive while I'm selecting. But if you are looking to make incentive while you're selecting, you can crush them. If I wanted to, I could throw a 120 all day long if I wanted to, but I don't want to. All right? I just want to build a nice solid pallet and hit around 100%. That's what I shoot for. But if I could do that walking through the warehouse, then you guys can move at a faster pace and crush these times, I promise you. All right, guys, so here's the back and the side of that, the front of the pallet, that last picture we just showed. I have a nice big wall of pasta in the background. We got 2 pastas that are the same. I'm facing them in, facing long cases in. Guys, nice wall. Do you see any cases in the middle of this pallet running this way? No, everything is facing towards the middle. Is this applesauce running this way? No, it's facing towards the middle. That's the strongest point of my pallet. The only time you see me run cases this way is if it's a corner, all right? The front of my pallet facing back, or if it's a solid layer. If I have a solid layer, then you may see cases running like this because I'm following the block that it came off the pallet. All right, guys, here is the front of my back pallet on this order. A little different, and we got a lot of heavy cases. All these cases have weight, and they're all different sizes, so I wasn't, I was trying my hardest to get this as nice as possible. But what do you see? 2 cases the same, facing back. 2 cases the same, facing back. I got a case here. Tried to level that off to fill in any gaps. 2 cases the same, facing back. 2 cases the same, facing back. I got cases facing back in this part of the pallet. I'm repeating myself. I want you to see similarities. And when I get a chance to tie in a full layer, I will do so. When you have weight like this, any opportunity of tying in is a good opportunity. Even though, like right here, this Prego right here is just a little bit on this jar. That's all I'm looking for. I used this to tie it in because I had a back corner going on here. It's all about weight distribution. But that is the front of my pallet. Let's take a look at the next picture. All right, guys, so here's what I'm talking about. This is the side of that order. What do you see? You see 1, 2, 3, 4 Pregos or spaghetti sauces going that direction that I don't like. But I have full layers. So the person that was talking to me in Discord, they posted a picture of me throwing a full layer and said, hey, wait a minute, you got cases going in the way, the part of the pallet you don't like. It's because on the inside of this sauce is even because I have a full layer. So on the inside, it's level, my corner is level. So there is nothing that's going to come bad out of it. Now, if I had this spaghetti sauce go in this direction and the inside was lower, then I'm going to have a problem because any case I put on top is going to rock in. But when you have all the same case, I know I'm solid in the middle and I'm solid in the corner. I hope that makes sense. But my corners facing back, everything else faces in whenever I get the singles. You see all the singles? Look at that. Facing in, facing in. Everything is facing in. And why are my broths not running this direction? Because there's probably smaller cases in the middle up on this top layer. All right, they're probably not even on the inside. So I run cases facing towards the middle. All right, guys, a little blurry, but here's the back of that pallet. All right, what do we got? We got broths on the bottom, lining up the spaghetti sauces, tying this back in very nicely, you know, but nice and solid. The back looks good. Remember, guys, what I say, strong back. So even though the front of my pallet might have been a little bit column stacked, I got a strong back, nice and tied in. I focus on that because I told you, every time you hit your throttle, your product shifts backwards. Well, if I got a nice tied in back, the chances of that falling over are going to be very slim. So that's this first order. Let's take a look at the next order. All right, guys, so here we are again. When we get to the side view of this, you're going to see a lot of stuff going on here. So I had a lot of waters. I told you I like sticking these up front. I don't like these spread all over my pallet because these waters, they like to shift back and forth. So if I have them just up front and I got more solid cases in the back, then I'm going to have my whole pallet not rocking and maybe just the front of this. But the front of this looks excellent. All right, it's nice, it's perfect, but you're going to see strong front, strong back, and we're going to take a look at the side of this picture because you're going to see it's not the greatest looking pallet. This is the problem part of the warehouse that a lot of people struggle building with. But let's take a look at the side picture. All right, guys, so here's the side view of this. All right, so you can see I stacked all my water up front, got my Gatorades in the back. I actually, when I was down in here, I had someone yell over to me, what the heck are you doing? Like, what are you trying to build? And it's so weird. Like, everyone has their system, and that's what's great about it, all right? Certain people build certain ways. You know, we all might have the same end result of a nice square pallet looking good, but how we got there is definitely different. All right, I definitely have a different way of building than other people. Now, remember, guys, I spent most of my career up at Perishable, so the people that are down at Dry Goods that are questioning me, you know, they're just not used to seeing someone stacked the way I do. Sometimes I'll have this all the way up here and I have nothing in the back. It's just the way I build. They reslotted the whole warehouse since I've been down there last. So this part of the warehouse honestly still gives me a little bit of problems. I get a little frustrated in this part of the warehouse sometimes, but I still come out with a pretty good end result in my opinion. But guys, these glass jars up front, problem cases, water's up front, Gatorades facing in. The reason why I don't have the Gatorades facing towards the middle is because I will leave such a small gap here that I'm probably not going to find cases to fit. If I ever turn a case and it's leaving a small gap and I'm in a warehouse or in part of the warehouse where there's all big cases, I want to try to minimize my small gaps as much as possible. That's why you see all these Gatorades facing in. And then I got a chance to tie them with these two pastas back here, but then I went right back to facing in, trying to get that weight distribution to hold up the front of this in case they want to rock back and forth. And as you can see, guys, I don't build the perfect pallets all the time. I took time to stop and wrap this on my problem area. Actually, someone wrapped this for me. I probably wouldn't have put this much wrap on, but somebody was talking to me and they decided to help me wrap while I did my back pallet. So, but yeah, if you have time to wrap, and you feel it's going to be a problem, then do it. But guys, when you get weight, when your whole pallet's heavy, definitely wrap it because it's just going to minimize the chances of that falling. Because you could have the perfect pallet, but if it's all weight, it still may fall. All right, guys, so here's the back of that pallet. As you can see, all the Gatorades facing back. I tried to tie in right here. We got nice long passes facing towards the middle, 2 same passes facing back. I like the face passes towards the middle, and then I tried to tie it in the next layer. As you can see, once again, I focused on tying in the back of my pallet. You notice that on all the back of my pallets. I want the back of my pallets to be nice and strong. And that is a strong back for sure. All right, guys, here is the front of the back pallet on this order. Once again, what do you notice? All my waters are up front. I was getting a lot of waters on this order, so I spread them between 2 pallets. And you can see, now I'm not too happy about this. I should have took this Gatorade and slid it over. When I was throwing, I did not realize that this Gatorade or this water was leaning into the middle. Guys, I'm not perfect every time, but this Gatorade, if it was spaced out more, that water would not be leaning. All right, guys, and you can see right here, this is another problem case of mine. That's the little Kool-Aid things that got the twist top on it, the little plastic bottle. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but the case is not strong. These cases are real weak. They tend to buckle. Anytime I have a problem case, I think front of my pallet. Why? Because it's up against something. It's leaning up against something. So if I put it in a corner, it's up in the front of my pallet. I would never stick this in the back of my pallet. I could stick it in the middle, but not on the back of my pallet. Guys, as you can see, cases going back, trying to tie in nicely, topped it off, just threw the cases up there because I was almost done with my order. Let's take a look at the other side. All right, so here's the side of that pallet. Once again, guys, what do you notice? Everything is pointing towards the middle of the pallet unless it's on a corner. All right, corners face in, but look at that. Everything in the middle. I want strong front, strong back. Now picture this case right here, right in this part of the pallet. And then I'm going to have cases, smaller cases on the corner. I want my big cases on the corners. I want my smaller cases in the middle. And as you can see, I do that. I build the same way every time. All the way down here, I got smaller cases. Guys, if this middle is unsturdy and I got 2 solid corners, it's not pushing it over. But if it was the opposite way, and I had a strong middle and a weak corner, it would easily push it over. I hope this makes sense whenever it's a cross and T. Guys, cases they're on that part of the cross that I talk about all the time. Let's take a look at the back of that pallet. Once again, guys, the back of the pallet is always solid. I always try to tie in as much as possible because I want that strong wall on the back of my pallet. So there's no chances that the front of my pallet or the middle of my pallet is going to knock over the back of my pallet, because 90% of the orders that fall in the warehouse are the back. All the other ones are the side because they stack in that part of the pallet that I can't stand, and then when they go around a corner they drop it. But the back of people's pallets fall all the time because they're not building solid walls, and it just happens to come out this way. I don't sit there and focus so hard on doing this. It's just I do it naturally now because it's my system. So really strong part of the back of my pallet. All right, guys, so that's my last picture I'm going to show you. I hope that this just looking over my orders shows similarities, shows that I build the same way every time, and how important it is to develop a system in your first probation weeks when you're first starting in the warehouse. It is so important to learn how to build your pallet and build them the same way every time. Guys, that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.